A red tidal wave is about to come crashing through the US Senate on November 8th, and many sitting Democrats look like they're about to lose their jobs as the midterms are just 2 weeks away now. And how Americans will vote is now clearer than ever, and it looks set to be a bloodbath. Join us once again from Canada is our North American and European correspondent, Michael A. Chabon, to discuss the gloom of red that is about to unseat many sitting Democrats. Morning, Michael.
Hey, how are you, Michael? Very good indeed. How is everything in Australia? You did some volunteer work there because there's a lot of flooding that was going on. I hope everything's okay with you and your countrymen.
Yes, up to my ankles in water now, so the knees are dry. That's all we can ask for at the moment, Michael.
Perfect. So we're going to talk about the election. We'll really centralize on that. I mean, that really is, we're under 2 weeks here in North America, particularly in the United States. And you talk about bad timing and you talk about stuff that's going to hurt any semblance of what the Democrats may be able to get. It was this week that Jayapal, she is a Democratic representing the Washington 7th District. She wrote a letter that she had presented to Biden, signed by 30 progressive Democrats, stating that the administration should negotiate with Putin to put an end to the Ukrainian-Russian war. Now, first of all, you don't want to start mucking with what a president is doing, particularly with international politics. Second of all, how dare you make a suggestion like that when it's actually something that the United States should do with the Ukrainians? And suggesting that the president should take a different tack. I mean, it triggered really significant pushback from many Democrats, and as well from the Ukrainians, who basically said, how dare you suggest that we negotiate with a war criminal? I mean, it was terrible. And then all of a sudden, Jayapal is the great backtrack, all this backpedaling and et cetera, saying, oh, that letter was drafted several months ago, and it wasn't supposed to be released. It was a mistake by our people. And this unfortunately points yet once again to the problem that the Democrats have, in that they have a league of people in there who are these progressive, that are willing to challenge education, to confront God-fearing Americans with certain wokeisms that is challenging the sexuality teaching of their children, which has decimated their oil and gas industry, and has put America into a spiral. And of all things, and how outrageous to suggest that the United States should deal with a war criminal to the likes of Hitler, and to even suggest to write a letter like that, never mind who was stupid enough to actually send it. But so it just absolutely shows the disorganization and the level of turmoil, Michael, that the current Democratic Party is in.
And it definitely reeks of talking about going above your pay grade as a senator. We're talking, one of the things you must admire about the American system is the partisan nature of politics goes away when it comes to issues of national security or war, where red and blue are united on the same page. And so for one of the senators to having a 2 cents worth with the president, and when you've got the leader of the Republicans not having that same word, that's where the negotiations belong, at that level.
Well, I mean, America has always been the country that has been the country of freedom, and that would go in, for instance, if South Korea was ever challenged by North Korea, it would be the United States who would be in there first. And they led a coalition, remember, with Kuwait a long time ago. I mean, America has always stand to defend the weak for the purposes of democracy in the world. And with all that's gone on in the Ukraine, you don't have to be a news bug to understand the horrific nature that's gone on, and that there was totally unprovoked aggression. And now we're talking about seeing bombs landing on schools and children, et cetera, et cetera. It is not a question of, well, we're not quite sure. Everybody's very sure. And to even compose a letter like that, to throw your president under the bus, why wouldn't you have some kind of discussion? Take your 30 people who are going to sign that letter and have a little chat, and include the Ukrainians, for goodness sakes. I mean, the United States is funding them to the tune of billions and billions of dollars. And there is questions now that some are raising. I mean, the Ukraine before the war wasn't necessarily the most uncorrupt country in Europe. I mean, they were trying to get back on their legs and be more of an established democracy. But here you are, a country that's in chaos. There's no infrastructure. What some Americans are asking, who is taking those purse strings, and where's the money going, and who's getting paid? And those are legitimate questions. Those aren't questions that are denying America or the world support for what's happening to the Ukraine. It's fiscal responsibility. The way that I pose that can be taken in a completely other way and sound terrible. And that's never the way it is. But to actually think that you can devise a letter that you're going to throw the president under the bus when it's already the tides of red are coming, I mean, it's absolutely crazy, and it's coming quickly. The numbers are there.
Now, the Premier of Alberta, what's going on there?
Yeah, you know, so the Premier of Alberta was, she was just elected. She's basically said that her name is Danielle Smith, and she says that she's canceling a health consulting agreement involving the World Economic Forum. Now, the World Economic Forum is, I mean, it's been the center of global domination conspiracy for many, many years, because it's basically a group of elitists that they meet in Davos, Switzerland. And so she basically said that she finds it's distasteful when billionaires brag about how much control they have over political leaders. As she said this in a news conference when she was bringing in her new cabinet, she said that it's offensive that the people who should be directing governments are the people who are voting for them. That's what it is. People who vote for the government should be directing the government. And she said, quite frankly, that organizations that should stop bragging about how much control they have over political leaders. The United Conservative Party Premier, she's called the United Conservative Party, they're in step with Pierre Poilievre, who is the new conservative leader who will challenge the Liberals, I believe, soon. So it's just a scary situation. I mean, she became focused on this, particularly after the pandemic, when they were promoting a great reset, and there was all these things about a global society that they were going to make things change. And she says basically that the World Economic Forum, it makes no sense that they should make health decisions on her behalf when she has health experts. And then at the helm of it, Klaus Schwab, he's not a medical doctor, he's not a nurse, he's not a paramedic, so why should he be a health professional? So there's a lot of things that are coming on, and now there's talk about another vaccine we may have because other things are going to happen. So she's actually taking a very strong stand, and I think it's very important to be able to have someone who asserts themselves, and this is a provincial leader. You know, it's quite something.
Yeah. Now,
sorry, go ahead.
Let's get back to that red wave that's coming, Michael. How bad is it looking?
So currently we're in the 117th Congress. That's where we're at right now. And the Congress is 435 seats or votes. To have a majority, you have to have 218 seats. So currently, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who was put in 2019, the Democrats control 220 seats. The Republicans control 212 seats. Now, the minority leader is Kevin McCarthy, and he was put in 2019 as well. So basically what happens is whatever the Democrats want, if they can't, if they don't have any great objections from within their party, they just pass stuff because they have a majority, 220 to 212. Where the rubber hits the road is in the Senate, which is kind of like, it's like in Canada, we have a Senate, it's called the sober second consideration. So when you start to look at what's going to happen in the House of Representatives come November 8th, there is very good information to say that the Democrats, in best case scenario, will have about 202 seats, and that the Republicans would have 233 seats. That's a give or take of about 17 seats. The way things are shaping up now, there's going to be some people who are going to watch this and say that, oh, how can you say that? The polls don't do this. And everybody who sits there and talks about polls, remember that if you ask, I think we talked about this just before, but if you ask a realtor how the real estate is, the realtor is always going to say it's good. Would you like to sell or are you going to buy? The people that many are getting these polls from in the left-wing media broadcasters are all saying that the Democrats have a surge. It's not happening. It's not happening when you see the amount of people that are coming out and voting. You see the distrust, you see the pain when gas prices have basically doubled, and it's, do I put food on the table or do I put $6 in gas so I can get to work for the next 2 days? So the prediction is, out of the 434 available seats, that almost 249, best case scenario, could be Republicans at the end of that. That's like a 33-point shift. And there's going to be a problem with the Democrats. And when you look at the Senate was basically a 50-50 split. It's down 48 Democrats. There's 2 independents who caucus as Democrats, which is 50, and 50 Republicans. And it is the Vice President, Kamala Harris, that will give the deciding vote to make it 51-50. It looks like that the Republicans will control the Senate by 6 seats, making it 53-47. And imagine this. Here you are, a president. 2 years into your presidency, you don't control the House, so you can't propose any bills or pass any bills. And you can't stop any of those bills from being passed because the Senate is controlled by the Republicans. So the only vehicle a president has in the United States to do that is a presidential order. So he's going to sit there maybe and just say that he's not going to let anything pass. And I mean, I've never seen this in the United States like this in all my time in covering politics. The debates, all these debates, everybody's watching all these governor debates and Senate debates. I mean, you've got some high-profile personalities, Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker, a football player. You've got elements that are having severe discussions and calling it all out. Just the other night, there was Fetterman and Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz, you probably have seen him in Australia, doing his very famous television program. Well, he's now running in Philadelphia to fill a seat, a Senate seat. And it was an embarrassing situation where Fetterman, who had experienced a heart attack and a stroke, was not of sound mind and body. And you could see that. And the one final thing I just wanted to share with you. In New York, if you recall, Andrew Cuomo was kicked out because of all those people who died in the old age homes, and that was 2021. So basically, they installed a Democrat governor in his place, which was Kathy Hochul. She's the 57th governor. She was the first female governor. But now you see, I mean, and New York is a bastion of Democrats. But when you see that people are not traveling to New York because people are getting pushed on the subways, the crime rate is going just crazy, taxes are going up, gas is expensive. Lee Zeldin has come in, a Republican, and is giving the Democrats a real run for their money because New York is not safe. And when you start to talk about the pocketbooks of Americans and going to see a play or staying in a hotel, it's going to be something. I predict the red wave is going to be considerable, and I think it's going to be a much larger toll than the Democrats ever realized. And Nancy Pelosi's out; she can go back to California and eat her ice cream.
Yeah, well, it'll be a fascinating time on November 8th. Michael, I'll be up during the night watching the tallies come in. But as always, great to see you, and we'll chime back in next week.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you to the Informer, to all our friends in Australia. Take care.